This week we've been looking at sentence structures so that in the upcoming week we can talk about combining our sentences. And we really want to look at taking a bunch of simple sentences in a row and improving our writing by combining sentences using various structures. So this particular week we're going to look at combining sentences with structure. Okay. So how can we use the sentence structures that we learned to identify to our advantage in our writing? How can we create nice, fluid sentences and have a lot of flow and get away from the overuse of simple sentences? And so that's what we will look at today. Okay. Notice I have my two simple sentences. He ran the fastest. He won the race. Okay. Again, not bad to have two simple sentences, but it sounds a little choppy, and I want to get rid of the choppy. Okay. For a sentence like this that shows the two combined ideas, right, we can use a compound sentence. Right, this would be a good example of the compound. How are we going to use the compound to combine these sentences? Okay, we know that we can first change this period to a comma and show the effect. Right, he ran the fastest, comma, so he won the race. And I can put in my comma fanboy and make it a compound sentence. Okay. I could say he ran the fastest and, right, comma, and he won the race. Right, that would work as well. Right. You also know, I'll erase that, okay, that I can make this a semicolon. Right, and you can put a semicolon in. He ran the fastest, he won the race. That gives it the effect of a fast, speedy, but still kind of choppy. So semicolon, although it would combine my sentences, not the best choice here. Okay, so we're actually going to erase that because that's not the best choice. But remember when we were talking about combining or run-on sentences? Okay, and we talked about what we called the conjunctive adverb. Right, these are words such as however, therefore, although, those words that create adverb clauses. Okay, those types of words, we call them conjunctive adverbs. Okay, so let's look at what that might be. For instance, I could insert the word therefore into my sentence. Okay. Right. I could put a semicolon here, because that's the rule. Semicolon, okay, let's do a quick review of that rule. Semicolon, your conjunctive adverb, comma, okay, and then you have your simple sentence. Okay, so that's your simple sentence, semicolon, conjunctive adverb, comma, simple sentence. Okay. Alright, so I have my semicolon in here, and so a good conjunctive adverb to put in here would be therefore. Right? It's showing that cause and effect. Okay. Therefore, comma. Okay. So he ran the fastest, therefore he won the race. Okay. Now I have a combined sentence. It flows well, and it's compound. Okay. But we also know that compound isn't our only type of sentence. Right? We can combine sentences so that they are complex. Okay. And there are many ways to do that. And I will show you a couple ways with different examples. But first, let's talk about the one that you're probably most familiar with. Let's talk about the adverb clause. Okay. Remember I told you to look for dependent clause starters such as when. I said look for when, look for because, although, until. Right. All of these words here, all of these words are starters to adverb clauses. Okay, so they are going to help describe when or why or how the action occurs. Right. That is the purpose of an adverb. So an adverb clause is going to use the definition of our clause from last time, and it's going to describe a verb. So let's work through that here. Okay. So I have my two sentences. Jack falls asleep in class. It is the hottest room in the school. Okay. Let's say we want to make this an adverb clause. Okay, so I get rid of my period. I can add the word when here. When, okay, it is the hottest room in the school. Okay, that describes when he falls asleep. Okay, I could take away the when, okay, and I can add because. That is a little special. Okay, because it is the hottest room in the school. Again, another adverb clause. Okay, either when or because we're working here because it's describing. Okay, when he falls asleep. So I'm going to add when. I'm going to add when to the sentence to complete it out. So Jack falls asleep in class when it is the hottest room in the school. Okay, so now because I've used that, I have a nice complex sentence that's an adverb clause. Okay. The second type of clause that I'm going to show you, remember we're still working with complex here. Remind yourself, we're going to make these complex. Okay. To make it complex, I can use a noun clause. Okay. We know that nouns act as subjects and objects, so a noun clause can be, according to our definition, a group of words with a subject and a verb acting as a subject or an object. And that's done by simply putting a that in front of my sentence, or a what, or a who. Okay. So that he is a nice person. Of course, then this would become lowercase. There we go. That he is a nice person, and now I can cross off this. And I can erase the period. So that he is a nice person is helpful to the students. Okay. There's my combined sentence using my noun clause. And it gets rid of the use of this which we kind of want to avoid anyhow in our writing. Finally, the last one I want to show you, still looking at complex sentences, is the adjective clause. Okay. Just as the adverb clause modifies and describes verbs, the adjective clause is going to follow the rules of a clause, and it's going to modify a noun. Okay. Now notice in here, we have I love to visit, I love to visit. Okay. It's just repeating. Okay? And it gets repetitive. And no one wants to read that because it's repetitive. So we want to erase that. Okay, so we're going to combine these sentences by erasing the repetitive portion. And so, to do so, as I erase it, okay, now I need to attach it to that previous sentence. I'm going to, right? So that I can simply get rid of my period because, right, I love to visit islands that have a view of the ocean because my that here, right, because my that here is explaining the type of island, it's modifying a noun, and this becomes an adjective clause. Right, so it's just as simple as doing a little erasing. Okay, if I wanted to, okay, maybe I wanted to sound a little fancy, and I wanted to get rid of the that as well. I can erase it. And I can put a comma and add the word which. That is also another way of creating an adjective clause. And remember, we use which for objects, use that or who for humans. Okay. You said, I love the man who runs every day. Okay, if you're talking about a human, use who. Otherwise, you use which in that. And we talked about those when we talked about pronouns. Okay. So this week I'm going to have you continue to practice combining sentences, taking simple sentences and making them into fluid sentences using the different clauses, the adjective clause, the noun clause, the adverb clause, or a compound sentence.